Hi, and welcome to Rich Media Design Productions video on Photoshop, and in particular a tool that I've been asked to kind of expound on or talk about, and that is the tools that deal with healing. Now, do they heal? I would say it's a adequate name for the particular tool. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Right over here, you can see there's a spot healing tool, there's a healing brush tool, there's a patch tool, and a red eye tool. Now we're going to talk about all four of those tools today, and if you stick right with me, we'll be doing that. Okay, here we have a photograph that I thought was one that would deal with pretty much all the tools that I want to talk about today, and give you some demonstration of how they're used. Okay, for the first one, it's called the spot tool. Again, it's right up here. Okay, and as you can see, I have a 62 size brush right about there, and you can see it right next to the eye right here, which, by the way, deals with red eye because one of the tools at the bottom is going to deal with red eye. So this is a pretty good photograph to use for all these four healing tools. Like I said earlier, this is a good title for this particular tool because it does seem to do those things. Okay, so let's see how this works. If I use this healing tool and I put it over, let's say, a blemish that I consider a blemish right down here, and I just kind of touch it, what happens? It disappears. Basically, the algorithm is it takes a kind of sampling of what's going on around it, and it puts it in its place right there. So if I go over here and take this, if I go over here and brush that out, pretty much handled it. Took out that kind of dark area there, took out that dark area, this dark area, and I can keep going. Okay, if you notice, there's some dark in the fur of the rabbit, so I'm going to touch it up, take it out, and that's pretty much how this particular tool works. There's not much more you can illustrate except just get a brush and start whacking away at the illustration or the uh, photograph that you're working with. And this particular tool is for small touch-ups. Okay, small little areas that you want to just kind of handle real quickly. I think people at Adobe saw this as a very cool little tool to kind of deal with real simple um, erasures of areas that might need touching up. So anyway, let's go on to the next tool. That one is called a healing brush tool. And how does that work? If I get a little bit bigger brush, you'll see what happens. Okay, if I go over this, you'll see that it says you have to option click to define the source point to use to repair the image. Okay, so I'll say okay. I'll press option, and you'll see a little target or register mark, and it'll tell you, okay, what do you want to take from? I want to take from, let's say, this area here, and then I go over here and I touch it up, and you see how it kind of follows your mark there. So what it did was it took a little sampling of the area where you chose, so that when you did your healing, it picked up that part and replaced it in the part that you wanted to heal. Okay, so this is really good when you're dealing with skin and you're dealing with blemishes and things like that, where small areas need to be retouched. Now, this is not a fix all for all kinds of problems, but this handles it pretty well in the fact that it'll take care of small blemishes and things of that nature. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is called a patch tool. And basically the patch tool is, if you look at it closely, it looks like a patch with a little circle thing coming out at the bottom. Well, basically it's almost like the lasso tool up there, but it's not. It's a little bit more. And basically what it's telling you is that if you lasso an area, okay, and then you grab that area and you move it to an area that you want to replace with, then you can do it. You can actually take that and replace that area. Now, did it replace? Let's see if we did. We can go and step back here, and you see how it changed? You wanted to go back to that, step forward. You see how it took from this area here. You can see the actual area looks exactly the same as this area here. So the patch tool works. It works to a certain degree, and it doesn't really do a trick if you were trying to do let's say a facial touch up, and there was a lot of nuances to that face touch up. Then you basically have to do the traditional things that need to be done to get that touch up done. But these are pretty cool little fixes. Okay, the last one on this particular tool is the red eye tool. Now, this red eye tool, if you notice, it has a little cross with an eye on there. Now, this photograph is a traditional red eye photograph where the camera seems to get the back of your iris, and it kind of does this reflective thing, and it causes a red eye. Well, this is basically a yellow red eye, but this is pretty much a real true red eye as opposed to, let's say, this kind of red eye where somebody took a photograph and touched up with a red in the eye. That's not a real red eye. This is possibly a real red eye. Child with the red eye photograph situation. And here's one where a doctor needs to see. And here's one where a dog is been taken a picture of, and he has the traditional red eye. Now, with that tool, if you go into the eye and you touch it, you'll see it goes through a little of a wait and see thing, and it takes away the red. But that's basically all it did. It took away red. So if I press around the yellow, it has a hard time dealing with the yellow. So is it a true fix for the red eye? It's kind of like, I think they need to work on it a little bit more. It kind of helps, but it really doesn't do the trick. I'll give you an example. It works pretty well with this photograph here because it's mostly red. So if I touch in the eye here, you'll see it did that. But it basically may not be what exactly that eye is really doing. It made the irises look really large, and you know what large irises mean, right? Well, anyway, that's the healing tool lesson for today, and I hope you learned something. We'll see you next time.